What is going on, everybody? Corey James here. I hope everybody is doing well, staying positive, practicing the whole self-quarantine thing. I get it. These are really difficult times for us right now, but that's why you have me, to distract you from your current reality as we dive into a very intriguing mystery that is actually my first ever requested video, and which you may call a sequel to the ancient handbag video I did a few weeks ago, in which we explored the possibility of an advanced ancient technology and what that technology could have possibly been. Well, today I'm going to show you exactly what that technology was. Let's get to it.
Some say they came from the stars. Others believe that they flew across the great water when their land sank into the sea.
The ancient Egyptians, arguably the most well-known of the ancient civilizations and home to some of the grandest and most iconic of the ancient structures, yet despite being one of the most well-preserved, well-documented, and researched of our ancient civilizations, we also seem to encounter the most mysteries and unanswered questions. Why? We have more artifacts, written documents, remaining structures, and statues found within Egypt than just about any other ancient civilization or site, so you would think that we would have more answers, but it's actually the opposite. Or is it? I personally think the answer is there for all to see, and it is the lack of evidence that proves it. Let me explain. The Great Pyramid of Giza, the oldest and last remaining of the ancient seven wonders of the world, is said to be a tomb for the pharaoh Khufu built around 2500 BC, but here's the problem with that. No, it isn't. And the lack of evidence is what proves it, because the one thing we are taught across the board from every expert, archaeologist, and teacher is the critical importance and necessity of the prayers within the tomb. These prayers, according to the experts, are the key to the afterlife for the pharaoh, functioning as a map of the underworld containing the necessary prayers for safe passage. Take away the prayers, and the pharaoh remains lost in the afterlife for all eternity. Now, the importance and high regards of these prayers can be seen in every tomb of every pharaoh that has ever been discovered except for one, the Great Pyramid. No prayers, no elaborate artwork, no records or even tools. Nothing has ever been found within the walls of this so-called tomb except for this so-called sarcophagus that, like the pyramid, is the only one that contains nothing on it. Now, taking into account modern accepted theory as to the importance, but more importantly the necessity of the prayers within the pharaoh's tomb, we can pretty much conclude the Great Pyramid, not a tomb. So then what is it? Well, let's look at the evidence that is there. The interior of the Great Pyramid has a design unique to itself, with three chambers, the subterranean, queens, and kings. Connecting to the king and queen's chambers are four inclined shafts which are not found in any other pyramid and still remain a mystery to archaeologists today. Also found within the Great Pyramid is the mysterious Grand Gallery, a 153-foot long, 28-foot high gallery that, like everything else in Egypt, has many theories as to what it was used for, but no answers. And finally, most recently discovered in 2017, is the mysterious Big Void, a large empty space measuring 98 feet in length that resides right above the Grand Gallery and remains unexplored. Now, the King's Chamber, Queen's Chamber, and the Grand Gallery are all constructed from red granite, one of the hardest stones known to man, because found within red granite is quartz crystal, but we'll get back to that. Now, during early excavations of the Great Pyramid, more specifically the Queen's Chamber, scientists discovered a layer of salt covering the chamber, which initially was nothing too spectacular until recent discoveries found within the north and south shafts of the Queen's Chamber revealed zinc and hydrochloric acid. This little known discovery of zinc and hydrochloric acid in the shafts of the Queen's Chamber, as well as the chamber itself, brought about a very plausible, albeit fantastic, theory that, in my opinion, makes the most sense as to what the Great Pyramid of Giza was actually used as: a power plant. Let me explain. Initially proposed by engineer and author Christopher Dunn, the theory of the pyramid power plant answers a lot of the mysteries modern accepted theory cannot, starting with the shafts where the zinc and the hydrochloric acid were found. Dunn theorized that when you pour hydrated zinc down the northern shaft and dilute hydrochloric acid down the southern shaft, they would mix in the Queen's Chamber, causing combustion, which in turn produces hydrogen. The theory also answers the question as to what the Grand Gallery gallery would have been used for a resonator hall. Taking into account the 27 slots that line the gallery, Dunn theorized that the resonators would have been mounted vertically, allowing the pyramid to function as a continuously flowing power plant. Now, what makes Dunn's theory so compelling, other than the obvious, is the fact that it is a very distinct possibility he could be right, because more recent discoveries in the subterranean chamber underneath the Great Pyramid show evidence of water erosion, leading many scholars and scientists to theorize that the subterranean chamber was actually used as a hydraulic pulse generator, which in turn would vibrate the entire pyramid. So, let's just assume for argument's sake that the Great Pyramid was a power plant. The question then becomes, what did it power? Well, remember the red granite I mentioned earlier, more specifically the quartz crystal inside it? That quartz crystal is one of the most amazing minerals produced by our planet because the properties of said mineral are such that it has the ability to vibrate at a perfectly precise frequency that is so pinpoint accurate. Quartz crystals are used in just about every modern day technology we have, more specifically because of its extreme accuracy in timekeeping instruments and equipment that transmit radio and television signals with precise and stable frequencies. Today, billions of quartz crystals are used in the development of crystal oscillators, which are tiny little devices used in every watch, clock, phone, cell phone, smartphone, radio, television, computer, video game, electronic meter, GPS technology, and device we have in use today. In addition, quartz crystal is also used in the development of specialized lenses, windows, and filters, which are used in lasers, microscopes, telescopes, electronic sensors, and other scientific equipment. Now, we have a chamber in which chemicals are found that when you combine them, we have combustion producing hydrogen. We have a subterranean chamber in which water is entering and producing a hydraulic pulse generator. And we have the interior of this massive structure lined with quartz crystals, which we use in every technology we have today. At this point, the evidence for the Great Pyramid of Giza being a power plant or some sort of power generator is pretty compelling, if not overwhelming, but it doesn't stop with the Great Pyramid. It is the numerous unexplained structures and ancient sites that surround the Great Pyramid, in not just Egypt and the surrounding Nile Delta, but all over the world. Teotihuacan, located northeast of modern-day Mexico City, is said to date back to the 1st century AD and predate the Mayan civilization by over 100 years. Now, there are numerous mysteries that surround this ancient site that is centered around two large pyramids, the Pyramid of the Moon and the Pyramid of the Sun, and a temple dedicated to the god Quetzalcoatl, or the Feathered Serpent. These structures stand alongside a long thoroughfare called the Avenue of the Dead, which includes 200 smaller structures, platforms, and pyramids in which not a single hieroglyph or writing of any type can be found, nor have any tools that can explain how this complex was constructed, nor is there any evidence to explain who the builders were, why they built it, or what happened to said builders. But they know it was built in the 1st century AD. Just saying. Focusing first on the Temple of the Feathered Serpent and some recent discoveries that started in 2003 when a massive rainstorm caused a sinkhole to form at the temple pyramid, revealing an underground structure that contained 5 chambers in which they found numerous jade statues as well as other artifacts. Upon further excavation in May of 2013, archaeologists discovered a room filled with hundreds of strange metallic spheres that were covered in a layer of burnt pyrite or fool's gold, as was the chamber they were located in. Furthering the mystery is that analysis of these stones revealed several other substances that cannot be identified, nor are they related to any earth substances. Following shortly after, in April 2015, archaeologists made an even more unbelievable discovery when directly underneath the center of the pyramid they found liquid mercury. Now, couple things that are fascinating about this. 1. Mercury is extracted from cinnabar, a natural red rock, and this is done in a very complex process that involves extremely high temperatures that ancient people could not accomplish. In addition, this is a very toxic chemical. How would they handle it? Or even know it could be extracted from the red rock and knew the highly complex process for said extraction, as well as the processing into liquid form that apparently they knew was possible for a substance they've never seen and then understood its use. Which brings me to number 2. Mercury is what we call a superconductor and is used in very advanced technologies such as free energy generators, high-speed transportation vehicles, and levitation. Also discovered at Teotihuacan are numerous chambers and rooms that are lined with mica. Many of these rooms are located underneath the Pyramid of the Sun, and all of them are off limits to the public and only accessible under government permission. What is mica, you might ask? Well, today we use this material as a heat shield in aerospace and electronic industries due to its amazing properties as an insulator of electricity and a conductor of heat, able to withstand temperatures upwards of 2,000 degrees. Tell me you're not just a little intrigued. So, like the Great Pyramid of Giza, there is no other pyramid in Mesoamerica that contains either the Chamber of Golden Spheres, liquid mercury, or mica. And, like the Great Pyramid, we have evidence of advanced technology associated with energy or power generation. And, like the Great Pyramid, no records or blueprints have ever been found in regards to the construction of Teotihuacan. So, no one has any answers to any of the questions, even though the answer almost seems like it's slapping you in the face. Seriously, why would any of these materials or substances be needed or used in an ancient site, yet they all work perfectly together in our modern day technology for modern day power generation? I mean, really, even the design layout of Teotihuacan looks like a modern day circuit board. Again, just saying. Oh, and I almost forgot, the three main structures at Teotihuacan line up perfectly with Orion's belt. Same thing in Egypt. No big deal. Moving even more into the bizarre, the story of the feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl, which tells the tale of this feathered serpent descending from the heavens to create man and this temple complex, which coincidentally enough matches the story that we have in ancient China and their tale of the Yellow Emperor, who was said to be flying over Earth on a dragon when he saw the people of Earth in need, so he descended from the sky to help them. Why do I bring this up? Well, located in the Shaanxi province in China, buried under a pyramid of earth, resides the tomb of the Emperor Qin Huang, a tomb that is best known for the discovery of the thousands of terracotta warriors. However, most of this massive underground structure has yet to be explored because of extreme high levels of mercury, which are found to be present within the tomb of the Emperor. Why is mercury one of the rarest elements found on Earth today that we use as a superconductor that, by the way, again, is super toxic and super difficult to extract, found underneath two massive ancient structures that are separated by thousands of miles, yet tell the exact same story in regards to their gods with mirrored depictions? Why is mica lining the walls underneath the Pyramid of the Sun at Teotihuacan? Why is zinc and hydrochloric acid found in the Queen's Chamber of the Great Pyramid of Giza? And why are all of these massive structures built the same way and seemingly unique from the rest? Or really, the most important question, why is it so hard to consider that these ancient structures could be exactly what the evidence points to them being, a technology that produced power, electricity, and maybe even the ability to levitate objects that otherwise could not be moved? Which I understand sounds fantastic, but it is this exact possibility that mirrors every so-called myth we read about with almost every ancient culture and site when describing the construction of these massive ancient complexes. When all of the evidence points to advanced technology and can account for the evidence that is not there, and when all of the so-called myths tell tales that exactly mirror what that advanced technology would have been capable of doing and portray accurate depictions of said technology, you begin to realize that all of the answers are actually right there. We just choose to call them myths. But why? Well, there's actually an easy answer for that one. Myth, from the ancient Greek, meaning speech, narrative, or plot, was not adopted by scholars until the early 19th century, at which point they gave it a more narrow definition as a way to explain these supernatural and fantastic stories that traditionally come from our ancient past. Or, in layman's terms, a way for the scholars to explain shit they had no answer for and could not accept the answers presented to them because gods and the supernatural to them do not exist. And therein lies the key. Our ancient ancestors had no concept of what a myth was. For them, everything they wrote down, every story and the art they portrayed as a result from these stories within their most sacred of temples was a literal depiction of what they saw, described with the only words they knew to best explain something unexplainable. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe everything is a myth. Maybe our ancient ancestors, who were apparently talented enough and smart enough to create such unbelievably accurate and massive structures that we cannot replicate them today, decided to lie about their history, that they so painstakingly and meticulously carved into their most sacred sites and temples, and there's actually a scientific rationale for everything. We just haven't discovered it yet. What do you think? Could our ancient sites and structures and the mysteries and unanswered questions that surround them be explained by simply reading the ancient texts as a literal account and applying modern day technology to said descriptions in which physical evidence backs up said stories? Or is it all a myth?